So some of the question, as when I asked in the starting itself that how many of you use the Linux operating system? So see, PowerShell doesn't come in the Linux training. Okay, it will comes under the your Windows. Okay, but I can assure you, if you know well and good the Linux, okay, PowerShell is just a cup of tea for you. Okay, you can easily spend 1 or 2 days more time by seeing the documentation, everything, and you can learn the PowerShell easily because most of the commands will be going to similar in the PowerShell and the so you don't have to worry about it. Okay. But PowerShell is mostly related to the Windows operating system, and we are discussing about the Linux now. Okay. And why also we are discussing the Linux? Why not Windows? Why company are preferring the Linux guy? We'll be going to answer all your question. Okay. So, like in a starting, I asked you that have you ever used the Linux operating system? Okay. So somebody said that they use the Ubuntu. Okay. They have the dual boot functionality. Somebody said that they are using the Red Hat. Okay. But take an example like majority of the people never use the Linux, okay, or they don't know even the what Linux is. So for them, there will be a simple four question that have you ever used an Android a smartphone? Okay, have you ever used an ATM machines? Okay, have you accessed the modern internet? Or have you ever saw a person running their laptop on based of the Ubuntu or Fedora type of the system? Okay. So if I'm giving you this four question, okay, so maybe 1 or 2 answers you will say that yes, I used the Android smartphone or I used the ATM machine. Okay. But now I tell you that if you already used any of the things or have you saw, then you already basically interacted with the Linux machine. How so? So Linux, Android is just based on the Linux. Okay. Similarly, most of the ATMs now, whichever going to be created now, like basically in the recent time, so they are directly making it on the Linux machine. Why it happened? Because the previously they were using the Windows XP, okay, Windows Vista in their ATMs. But you know that recently, like 3 to 4 or 5 years back, when Microsoft Windows said that now they are not going to give the support for the Windows XP or something. So it was really a huge loss for the ATM companies who already built their product on the Windows XP, Windows Vista, their ATM machines. So now what happened? They have to find some alternative. Okay, and now mostly they switch to the Linux based because in Linux we don't have the problems of like not getting supports. Why so? That also will come to know now. Okay. But if you try to understand this line, so in this line, I tell you that then you already have interacted with Linux kernel. Why Linux kernel? Why not Linux operating system? Okay. So if somebody is telling that I am using the Linux operating system, okay, and this is a normal thing. People say that I am using the Linux operating system. But do you think this is a correct term? No, this is not the correct term. Okay. Why we cannot say that Linux is an operating system? So actually, Linux is not an operating system because Linux is a kernel. Okay, so again, some of you will be confused what is kernel. Okay, so don't worry about all this term. Just try to understand here. Okay, today you will be going to learn something. Even if you understand 10 to 15%, that is more than enough. Okay, because this is your first lecture. Now, why Linux OS? Why we cannot say it that in the ATM machine we are using the Linux operating system, or in the Android smartphone we are using Linux operating system. So Linux, when it was developed as a kernel. Okay. Then again, what is kernel? Okay. So if I will ask you a simple question that in your computer, which type of devices are there? Okay. Like if you have a laptop with you, then you have the basically two types of device, right? One will be the hardware and second will be the software. Now, can anybody give some examples of hardware? Anybody? You can keep it in chat. Like, I just want to know understanding of your side also. So I'll be correlate the things. Anybody? Hardware examples, you can keep it in chat. Okay, RAM, that's correct. Any other thing? If somebody are still confusing with what is actually hardware, so whatever the parts you can touch in your laptop, okay, that will be comes under the hardware. So now you can tell. Okay, hard disk, CPU, that's great. Now people started to answer. CPU, okay, okay, keyboard, yeah, that's great. That's great. That's great. So now you understood that what are the hardware. So these all are the hardware. Okay. Now what is the software? Okay. There are some software also you are running. Okay. Like you are using the Windows laptop. Take an example. Okay. So Windows is an operating system. Okay. Again, how this is known as the operating system that will come on the later part. But you can treat for now Windows operating system also as a software itself. But it is not actually the software. Okay. But let's give an example. Okay, Windows operating system is also software. Okay, now in your laptop you will be using the calculator. Take an example. So calculator is a software. Okay, with the help of that you are able to calculate the things. Similarly, Google Chrome, that is also a software. Okay, now and like this there are so many softwares available in the Windows laptop. But now if you try to think that is this software directly communicate with us or how is it? Okay, because when you download some software from the market or have you tried to install any games, okay, in your laptop, so you always see that they say that there is a requirements column when you download some software. Okay, and they see this type of the requirements like minimum 4-core CPU should be available. Then say minimum 8 GB of free RAM. And then if you try to see one more, they say that minimum. Okay, so like this type of the requirement we always see when we talk about the different software we are going to download from some website. Like you are going to download some games or you are going to download some software. They say that to run this software, you will require 4-core CPU at least. Okay, you will require minimum 8 GB of free RAM. There should be minimum 2 GB of graphics card. Okay, now, how they are telling us about this? Okay, what will happen if I don't have the minimum 8 GB of free RAM? Okay, so before understanding this part, have you ever seen this type of the requirements on any website when you are downloading some software? Anybody like they already saw this type of the requirements on websites? Again, you can keep it in chat if you saw. Okay, so one is saying that they already saw. Okay, no, okay, no issue for that also if you never saw. Okay. So if you know not saw this, then you'll be going to see soon. Whenever we'll be starting with the Docker and Kubernetes, that time you will see that Kubernetes cannot run with the less than 2 or 3 GB free RAM. Okay, so we should have minimum of the 2 GB of free RAM to learn the Kubernetes. Okay, so these all things we'll be going to see. And let me quickly show you actually how this type of the requirements are there. Like take an example, we are talking about a Minikube installation. This is a software which gives us the Kubernetes access. So if I'll go on this website, so see what they are saying, what you will need. Okay, and they are saying 2 CPUs or more you will require, at least 2 GB of free memory. Free memory is again basically the RAM. Okay, then they are saying 20 GB of free hard disk. Okay, like in your hard disk, minimum 20 GB of free space should be there, and then a proper internet connection should be there. Then only you can use this software. Okay, like this way for different software they have the different requirements. If you are going towards the games, because games are the highly graphics extensive software. So there you will require that your games are asking for 8 GB RAM, 10 GB RAM, 16 GB RAM, like that way. Okay, that's why gaming laptops comes. Okay, James is saying that he's not hearing anything. Others audible, right? Okay. James, I think from your side, maybe a speaker issue is there. Okay, so try to change the speaker output. Okay, if you are using the headphones, so try to unplug it and try to join back. Okay, so maybe at least you can hear it from the your internal laptop speaker. Okay, now you can hear. Okay, that's great. Yeah. So these are the requirements which are mentioned on this website. Similarly, you'll go on different website, you will see the different requirement. Okay, but my purpose to show you that whenever we are installing some software, that software some requires some hardware. Okay, without hardware, you cannot run any software. Okay, now do you think that Google Chrome is so intelligent that they can go and ask to this RAM present in our laptop that can you provide me 2 GB RAM, because I will require it. If you don't provide me 2 GB RAM, I cannot open. So is the Google Chrome is so intelligent to doing this? So answer is no. Google Chrome cannot ever go directly to our hardware or directly to our hard disk. Okay, that I require to download some files from the internet. So can you give me some space from your hard disk so I can download it there? No, it is not going to happen. So where we are running this software like Google Chrome, calculator. So currently, if you see in my laptop, we are using Google Chrome on top of the Windows operating system. Okay. So our Google Chrome is going to tell to the Windows operating system that Windows, I'm running on you. So it's totally on you to provide me the resources. Like you are hiring some employee. So who will give the salary to that employee? Because you hired, so you have to provide. So same thing, Google Chrome is asking for the resources, okay, from the Windows. Now Windows have the basically the total headache, how they will be going to provide, or like whatever the RAM they are asking, whatever hard disk Google Chrome is asking, how much CPU Google Chrome is asking. Okay, so yeah. So once the Windows operating system got the requirements that these are the requirements for this software. Okay. So now what Windows will do? Can Windows directly communicate to the RAM? That is also not the good and good answer. Like it is not correct. Windows is never going to ask directly to the RAM, can you give me 2 GB RAM? Okay, what Windows is going to do? Windows have a kernel. Okay, Windows operating system. Let me write it like this way. Windows operating system communicate to Windows kernel. Okay, and from this Windows kernel is basically, you can think like this is a manager program. Okay. Whenever I am saying the manager, so just again reverse the scenario that where employee is asking for the salary. So company is going to provide the salary. But in company, who is going to provide the salary? Is the CEO? No. Company hired the HR managers for that. Okay. So company CEO will tell to the HR manager that see this person is asking for, like I hired for him for this salary package. So you have to provide him that. Okay. So same thing Windows operating system is saying that on top of me, somebody mic is open. So okay, let me mute. Okay, yeah. So Windows Google Chrome is running on top of Windows OS. So now Windows OS have to provide these requirements. Windows OS will tell to the Windows kernel that I require these requirements for my software. Can you go on my behalf to hardware resources? Okay. And Windows kernel cannot say no for it because Windows kernel are meant for doing this only. Okay. So what they will do, Windows kernel, they will go to this hardware, RAM, CPU, motherboard, hard disk. Okay. And they say that I require 4-core CPU. So do you have? And maybe from the hardware, they got to know that only 2-core CPU is available. Okay, so in this case, what will happen? If the Google Chrome is asking for 4-core CPU and our hardware only have the 2-core, so is that software is going to run? No. They will say that hardware requirement does not match. Okay, your computer don't have the enough resources. This type of the errors come. And when you play the high-end games on the laptop with the lower configuration like i3 and 4 GB RAM. So you'll face this type of the difficulty that resources are not available or your laptop start to hangs. Okay. But if somehow our laptop having the 8-core CPU, okay, but this software is asking only for the 4-core CPU. So what Windows kernel will do, they will take the 4-core CPU from the hardware. Okay, so now hardware have still 4-core remaining. Okay, that is totally free currently for no use. But that 4-core CPU, once Windows kernel will get it, they will provide it to the Windows operating system. Now Windows operating system will tell, yes, now we have the 4-core CPU available, you can start. Now Google Chrome will start running and they will use the resources. Okay, so Windows kernel is a manager program here. So similarly, Linux is not an operating system. Okay, Linux is a Linux kernel. If somebody is saying that we are using Linux kernel, that is well and good. But if somebody is saying that I am using Linux operating system, okay, so that is not good because actually that is not correct term when you are saying that I am using Linux operating system because Linux is not an operating system, it is a kernel. Okay, so if this is a kernel and they have basically a technology of asking for the resources, okay, like hardware, that can you provide me? So how we are able to use different software on top of the Linux kernel? Okay, so again there will be some operating system here, right? Who will be telling to the Linux kernel that can you ask for the resources that they can provide me 8-core CPU, 4-core CPU or not? Okay, so here the word comes here like Ubuntu, okay, maybe Red Hat, okay, maybe some of you heard about the Linux Mint, okay, and some more XYZ. Okay, so these all are the operating system which are going to tell to whom Linux kernel, because these all operating system are using the Linux kernel. Okay, and that's why we say that we are using the Linux operating system, but actually we are using a operating system which are using the Linux kernel in background. Okay, so now we tell to the Linux kernel that Linux kernel we want resources and this Linux kernel is going to ask for the hardware. Okay, so is this part clear to all of you? Anybody have any confusion here that what is the kernel and what is the operating system? This is just a overview. Okay, so you don't have to worry about, but till now anybody have any question, anything that you are not able to understand? If question is there, you can type it in chat also, or you can unmute yourself and you can ask me.
Can you explain this last two things from Windows and Red Hat? Then?
Okay, so let me give some space here. Okay, so as I am saying, like whenever you are installing Google Chrome, okay, on top of your laptop, like this is my laptop, this is the Windows operating system full-fledged, right? In this Google Chrome software is there, like different software is Facebook, Xbox, Prime Video, Ghana. So these all are the different software available. Now, when I am clicking on some mail or I'm clicking on calendar, okay, so how they are going to open? Because they will require some resources, and that resources basically meaning is RAM, CPU, hard disk, right? Because without RAM, can your laptop get turned on? No. Without hard disk, your laptop, you can use your laptop? No. Okay, so these all are the main requirements. Now, once you are launching the Google Chrome, so they have some type of the requirement that I require 4-core CPU, I require 8 GB RAM, I require 2 GB graphics card. If this is the requirement to open a Google Chrome, so who is going to provide this requirement? So as the Google Chrome is basically a software which is installed inside the Windows operating system. Okay, so if you are working in a company, okay, where you are an employee, so for any problem, whom you will ask? The manager who hired you, okay, you will ask him only, like I am facing this problem. So similarly, Google Chrome will ask to the Windows operating system. that my customer, or basically we are the person, when we are double clicking on the Google Chrome is getting open. But in background, Google Chrome is going to the Windows operating system. They are asking for some resources to open. Okay. Now this Windows operating system, how they can provide these resources, CPU, RAM. So they will ask for the Windows kernel. Windows kernel is a manager program, whose work is basically to ask from the hardware that do you have that resource available. If resource is available, then they will take that resource from the hardware and they will share it to the Windows operating system. So same thing the work Windows kernel is doing. They are just communicating, or a means of communication between the operating system and between the hardware. Okay. Similarly, in case of the Linux, these all are the different version of the operating system. Ubuntu, Red Hat, Linux Mint, Fedora. Okay. But in the background, every operating system is running on based of the Linux kernel. Okay. So in place of using the Windows kernel, okay, they are using the Linux kernel to communicate with the hardware. Okay, their final goal is also that if somebody is opening Google Chrome inside the Ubuntu operating system, so this time Google Chrome, rather than asking to the Windows operating system, they will ask to the Ubuntu that can you provide me the resources. Ubuntu is going not go to the Windows kernel, because Ubuntu don't have the Windows kernel. Ubuntu have the Linux kernel. Okay, so they will ask to them, can you provide me the hardware resources? And again, they will take the hardware and they will do the exact same work what Windows operating system is doing. So yeah, now is it clear, or how is it?
Yes, that's clear. Thanks.
Okay. Others, anybody? Anything? Okay. So currently, maybe some of you who are already good with the Linux, they will be thinking like we are going so much basics. These all are the normal thing. But again, as we are learning in a training form, right? So we have to cover all the syllabus. Maybe for you, it will be a revision. For others, maybe they are learning it the first time. Okay. So these things we have to keep in mind. Now, once you got the idea that what is the Linux operating system and what is the kernel, and in day-to-day term, in company also people say that I'm using Linux operating system, and that's well and good. If you are saying to someone in day-to-day behavior that I'm using Linux operating system, that is well and good. Nobody is going to tell you that you are giving the wrong name, that you are not using Linux operating system, you are using Linux kernel. Okay. So this training will around 45 to 50 hours training will be there. Okay. It depends on the how we are going to cover the syllabus, how we are interacting with each other. Okay. And I think it will be Monday to Saturday from IST timing. Okay. Or all these information related days will be conveyed to you in your group. So you don't have to worry about it. Okay. This all information you will get like in 1 or 2 days about all the plans. Yeah. So in day-to-day users, you can say that I am using the Linux operating system and nobody is going to cut you that you are telling wrong. But if you are good in the Linux, okay, so you should forget about the term Linux operating system. You have to always think that somebody is talking about Linux, they are talking about Linux kernel, not operating system. Okay. So if up to here is clear to you, then there will be a question in your mind. Okay. Again, what is kernel? So that thing also I written that a computer needs both software and hardware, okay, to do anything. And this thing I already explained you. So who is going to communicate this software to hardware? So kernel is the, okay, and kernel is the thing. Okay, so basically it is a something you can say this is a layer of software, okay, that operates the hardware. Okay. Now, what makes Linux special? There will be something coming in your mind that, okay, all are good, but we in our day-to-day use cases, we uses the Mac OS, we uses the Windows. Okay. Then why Linux? Why company are preferring the Linux? Because if you are good in something like Windows operating system, from childhood we are using the Windows operating system. Then why not Windows operating system in the IT company? So if we try to summarize, let me Okay, so if you try to summarize it, so what makes Linux special? The first thing is the open source. Okay, so anybody here who have heard about the term open source previously? Have you heard the word open source anywhere previously?
Yes,
Okay, so can you say something about this, or how is it?
like Selenium is the open source
Okay,
for automation.
okay. Uh, Not exactly. Okay, but somehow it is correct, but not exactly. See, the name open source itself says that it is open. Okay. Again, what is the meaning of open? So just take an example of Windows. Okay. Windows 11 that currently I'm using in my laptop. Okay. Windows 11. Yeah. Open source is a platform where anybody can modify the kernel of the operating. Yeah, that's great. Okay. But let me give you the example that Windows 11 is a software which I'm using currently in my laptop. Okay. And this software they provided us directly. Okay. But I am going to ask to the Microsoft that Microsoft, you provide me the Windows 11, that's well and good, but can you provide me the code, okay, which you written to create the Windows 11? And do you think Microsoft is going to provide us the code for the Windows 11? And the answer is no. Because if they will provide the code, then anybody can copy the Windows 11 operating system. Okay. And they can make the duplicate of this and they started to sell in the market. Okay. So this is their reason to not share the code. Okay. So Microsoft or like Mac OS. So these all are the company which are basically keeping their code with themselves. Okay. They don't want to share it to the public. So if from the public somebody want to create a operating system similar to Windows 11, they have to do all the resources whatever Microsoft done from last 20 to 30 years, okay, to make this operating system more powerful. Like we started with back, if you remember, Windows 98, Windows 97, Windows XP. Okay, like this way there is so much generation past of the Microsoft operating system, but they are scaling up, they are implementing new thing. So if there will be a person who want to create a Windows like operating system, they have to do all the resources, what research, whatever the Microsoft done in the last 15, 20, 25 years. Okay. But if you same thing, if you ask me that I have the Linux based operating system. Okay. Again, Linux based operating system, I'm telling. Okay. That means the operating system which are using the Linux kernel. So can you get the code for this? And you will ask, they will say yes. And that's why these all softwares comes under the open source. Because whoever created the Linux, okay, that also we are going to discuss how the Linux was created. But you have to understand that whoever created the Linux, okay, the person name is Linus Torvald, okay. But when he created, he made it free. Free means like it is freely available for anybody to use. Okay. If tomorrow somebody want that I don't want to use Linux kernel for my laptop, they want to use this Linux kernel for their mobile phone. That is also well and good. They can use it. They can take the code of the Linux kernel. They can do changes in the code if you are familiar with the coding. So they can do the changes and they can use it in the mobile phone. Nobody is going to ask you. Okay, and it comes under the free license. So you don't have to worry about that some company is going to call you or they will directly drag you on in the code that you are using the Linux kernel. So nobody is going to do it because this is the open source code and it is freely available to anybody to use it. Similarly, if you are seeing in your home that there is a smart toaster, okay, maybe many of you already saw the smart toaster in your home, okay, or you saw in somewhere advertisement or something. So do you think that Microsoft Windows operating system they can modify to run it in the toaster? No. So here the Linux comes in the pictures because Linux, you can take the code and you can modify as per your use case. Okay. And in that toaster, if you're making it a smart, we require some type of the operating system. Okay. So if we'll ask to the Windows 11 that can you create a new operating system which can be run on the smart toaster like machines? So they will say no. Okay, because their whole company perspective is to use or to create the operating system for the laptops. Okay, not for any other resources like on any other devices which you are using. But Linux, as you are the person who can take the code directly, okay, from some repository. So your engineers is going to do some changes in the code and they can make these changes that this kernel is going to be work on the smart toaster. Okay. Similarly, ATM machines we talked about, right? So there are tons of the devices which you are seeing in here and there, or like robotic car, whichever you are saying that they are controlled by remotes, drones, all these things are working on the operating system, right? Because you are communicating, like if you talk an example about drones, okay? So if ever you try to fly the drone requires a Wi-Fi. Okay, like you have to connect to the Wi-Fi, then they will be able to communicate with your mobile phone. Now, how they are able to use the Wi-Fi? Right. For using the Wi-Fi, it will require an operating system. Even in your home, you have the router, which is providing you the internet, right? That router also giving some network signal to you. That also requires some type of operating system to work. And in your router, it is also based on the Linux based operating system. It is not based on Windows. Okay. Similarly, drones are also based on the Linux operating system. So why they are using Linux kernel, why they are not using any Microsoft kernel or Mac OS kernel, whatever, because they don't give us the code. So we cannot modify for our use cases. Okay. And that is the only thing. That's why Linux is getting popular in the industry. Okay. So let me complete this. Okay. Modified code. Okay, so we modified the code. We are using it in the smart toaster. Okay, and we can do it. Yes, we can do it because it is totally freely available. And that is the meaning of open source. Anybody can contribute. And now if we are too good in the nature and that we want that whatever the kernel we created or whatever the code we modified in this Linux kernel to make it use for the smart toaster. Now it's totally on us that this modified code, do I want to make it public or not? Okay. If I want that other toaster company which are present in the market, they can use my code, then I can make it freely available. If I want to sell this code to some toaster company, that if you want to use same iOS is an operating system, that's correct. Okay. But your question is, does it work on Linux too? So actually, no, it is based on the Unix operating system. Okay. So Unix is similar to the Linux. Okay. And Unix is the first operating system which comes in the market. Okay, so that things mostly we'll be going to cover tomorrow. Okay, what is the difference between Unix and Linux, that will be going to understand tomorrow. Okay, and that time we'll be able to easily understand how Mac OS are working on the Unix, not on the Linux. Okay, so yeah, so we are discussing about this, that it's totally on us that do you want to share this modified code or not. Okay, because this is freely available, so we can take it. Similarly, it is free software, anybody can use it, share the code, it's totally on it. It is fast also because it is more efficient. Okay, because we are modifying the code as per our use cases. Because in this Linux kernel, take an example, they are communicating with Wi-Fi devices or something. But take an example, our smart toaster does not require that. They don't require the LAN connection or something. Okay, they can directly run on the Wi-Fi itself only. So I will change the code. I will remove the code of the LAN, everything, whatever unwanted present in this Linux kernel. Okay. And if we are reducing the code size, then we are making our Linux kernel efficient and it will be faster also. So these are the some of the reason why Linux are becoming popular. Again, more details we'll be going to cover in the next class. So don't worry about it. And you'll be able to see in the next 1 or 2 days, we'll be starting with the practical also. We'll be start to learn commands also. Okay. So till now, if you have any question, you can ask me. Okay. And that will be the for today. Okay. And again, in the next class, we'll continue after this. So any question in these 3 points? Hope open source is clear to all of you now. Yeah, somebody was saying something.
No, I just joined. So when was this class started?
Class started 1 hour back. It was 8 a.m. only from the IST time. You will get the recording, no issue if you see it. So our team will share you. Just contact to the team. They will share you the recording if you will. Okay. And again, we'll see like what is the reason behind the person who created the Linux. Okay, that will be going to see tomorrow. That what is the reason behind that he chose that we should make this Linux kernel freely available. Okay, and that is the such a great thing to know that there are some persons, and Linus Torvald is still contributing to the Linux, and he is the only person who developed this kernel. Okay, why he made it free? That also will be going to discuss tomorrow. Not tomorrow, basically whenever the next class. And all other details will be provided you to the by the team. Okay,